It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Tuesday, June 21st, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is happening on this wonderful Tuesday? We've got current news from around the world, looking into the book of Ephesians, and question and comments of the week. All right, everyone, how are you doing today? Yes, it is kind of a refreshing day for me. I hope you guys are enjoying this week so far. I've been sick all over the weekend, and I'm starting to recover. Super grateful and thankful for all your prayers, your comments, all the suggestions you've given to me too. And I am getting recovered. No more fever anymore. Just, it's mainly like a stuffy nose. So you can kind of see I'm very nasally right now. And also I have a little bit of a sore throat. So I will be, we're going to go into an entire full podcast today, but I will not be speaking too strongly as I normally do, because I'm just going to see how much my body can keep up with this. But I think I'm good. And a lot of things have changed in my body. Like, it was so weird if I told you this COVID experience I had. This COVID experience started on Wednesday for me, and it was just, what do you call it? Just kind of feeling like weak. I was like, what is going on? And, I was driving around going to a cafe. And for some reason, the cafe was super cold. I was like, oh, what's going on? So I ate, and I went home, and I'm like, what's going on? And then Wednesday night, I was sitting on the couch. I was watching like a hockey game or something, and then I had a blanket. And then when I took the blanket off, I had massive chills, just like shaking like crazy. It was almost to the point I was scared, like, what is going on? I was shaking and shaking. I ran into my bed until I got warm again, and then my chills went away, and I was like, what is this? And then I tried to expose my leg. I get the chills again. I was like, what? This is crazy. So I had to, keep this blanket wrapped around me everywhere I went. And then I tried to go to sleep. But, that first night, which was Wednesday night, it was crazy. It was just sweating in my bed. It was gross, right? But, everyone's been sick before like this too. And then the next day, there's zero chills. So I'm like, oh, okay, no more chills, thank God. But then I had a fever. So then I had a fever, and I had a really sore throat, and like those are the two main things, and stuffy nose, those three things. And that lasted for about 3 days, like all of Thursday, all of Friday, all of Saturday, and then Sunday too. And it's already like Monday. It's like Tuesday now, so it's been about like, I think 3-4 days of fever. 3 days of fever. Fever goes away. And then I only have like my stuffy nose and my sore throat. But then, of course, yesterday you heard my voice. My sore throat was like really bad. But today, it's not so bad, right? So like in the morning, it's really bad. But then, as the day goes on, it kind of gets back to closer to a normal voice than I normally had, right? That I usually have too. But yeah, that's kind of like the process I went through. It hasn't even been a week yet. Right, it hasn't even been a week, so like even from Sunday, just able to move around, go outside, take walks, and drive around just to get some fresh air, because just staying inside is just not healthy for you. You're not getting enough sunlight, so I was really really happy about that also. So I would say I'm at a good 70% right now. Good 70%. Just got to get this rest out, get all that fluids out of my nose, and then also get this throat back to where it should be. So I'm eating very, very healthy food. And I just had a lot of friends and family supporting me and sending me food and stuff like that. I had I'm not sure if you guys know what this. It's this Korean food called samgyetang. It's got like ginseng. It's got like dates. And it's a very, very healthy chicken broth. Then I also had like chicken congee. And I had a bunch of this stuff people were sending me. My aunt sent me like bibimbap. And also, what else did she send? She sent me like pasta and stuff like that too. So I was really, really thankful for that also. But once again, super thankful for your prayers and for your comments. It was really supportive. And I would say that this is one of the greatest, one of the big things that I would say is an absolute positive of social media. Like I just posted once. And like, those of you guys are on Instagram, I was like, gosh, this is my life. And I posted me in bed like that first night or my second night sick. And the next morning, I had like 60 text messages. Please get better, Pastor. Pastor, we're praying for you. I was like, wow, this is the power where even though I was alone, I wasn't really alone, So like I saw that really huge positive impact of social media. So that's something that I'm super thankful for too. So very, very, very thankful to everyone. Thank you so much to the community out there. I'm kind of, I'm like I said, 70% back. Just got to get rid of this stuffy nose and this sore throat, and I'll be back to where I should be. So everyone, thank you so much for all your likes and comments and everything else. And this is kind of how the community builds in this English speaking community of Providence. So if you guys are sick or anything else, please post it. I would love to get a lot of people to support you guys too, because I know that feeling of being supported by so many different people also. All right. Last week, thank God, I got my YouTube video out. I recorded it before I got sick. Why God doesn't answer your prayers. I got that done on Tuesday. Right, I got that done on Tuesday. I got sick on Wednesday, so thankful that got out. But now I do need to make a new video this week for next week's video too. So last week was why God doesn't answer your prayers, and a lot of people were saying this is a perfect video for newcomers and for themselves too. So thank you so much for supporting that video also. And all right, so let's get this show started on the road. Today's featured artist of the day on this awesome Tuesday. Who is it? We're gonna go to AG from Japan, and this song is called "A Life of Thanksgiving and Grace," and this is the EDM version. So hope you guys will really enjoy this. And then we have Juice Star Aiden Verity from New Zealand with Busy Bee, and last but not least, we have Dr. Zinni from Canada with Lord You.
The bumblebee is too busy to cry, buzzing away, looking for a flower to duck and hide, a worker or a queen. Sometimes I feel like it's the same thing, a princess asleep on a pea, poured off by the smallest of sufferings, but I'm still working on me. If I'm honest, I feel so strange, a fish without water, a cranium without a brain, looking so good for the cameras, but feeling so very average. Where else can I go? There's only one river where living water flows. I already know the answer, the problem is throwing my own hope. When I'm in the water and on the boat, both the following sheep and also the goat. I'm in the water and on the boat, both the following sheep and also the goat. If I'm honest, I like routine, like to go swimming and slip in cups of tea, like seeing blanks in my schedule and filling them with my own woes. Now I'm overthrown and all around me are the people who can't do wrong. I smile and try to let it go. The problem is giving myself hope. To find a mountain where I can scream. I need a place to do my own thing. I need a cave where I can sing and it's funny. There's no one to judge me and I can try this way or that. I don't have to worry about falling flat. But this work to do, is this even work too? Who can decide? Is it me? Is it you? Is it God? How far would I go if I could? I go far slower than I should. I'm only as good as how much I produce. Squeeze on my brain and pour out the juice. As much as I grind my nose in the ground, but nobody knows, they don't notice I'm down. I haven't been busy enough. I'm floating too far, too far. I'm in the water and on the boat, both the following sheep and also the goat. I'm in the water and on the boat, both the following sheep and also the goat. There's a looking over my shoulder, there's all my next stairs, gets colder. There's a over my shoulder, there's all my next stairs, it gets colder. There's a looking over my shoulder, there's all my next stairs, it gets colder. There's a looking over my shoulder, there's all my next stairs, it gets colder. There's a looking over my shoulder, there's all my next stairs. The bumblebee is too busy to cry, buzzing away, looking for a flower to tuck and hide, a worker or a queen. Sometimes I feel like it's the same thing, a princess asleep on a pea, poured off by the smallest of sufferings, but I'm still working on me.
Through the winter snow and rain, when the coldness hits your face, when you're racing against the wind, pray the storm will go away. Then you whisper your word, your hands part the clouds, your bright rays of hope break through the darkest shade. You light up the dark, set warmth to the cold, put an end to the rain, the sins you wash clouds are dark and gray. And our hearts are bound in chains. Then you whisper your word. Your hands part the clouds. Your bright rays of hope break through the darkest shade. You light up the dark, set warmth to the cold, put an end to the rain, the sins you wash away. Though the illness fills the air, we'll laugh to not despair. Using strength we got from prayer, make the world renewed again. Trying hard to make a change, can't hurt your heart again. Learn how to love you till the end.
And there it is. That is Dr. Zinni from Canada with the song Lord You. Before that is Busy Bee from Justar Aiden Verity from New Zealand. And of course, the feature arts of the day, that is AG from Japan with the EDM mix of A Life of Thanksgiving and Grace. All right, everyone. So let's get into some current news going on around the world. And yes, I couldn't do this the last 2 days. My condition wasn't very good. There's a lot of things to catch up on. But, we can't really spend that much time catching up on every single thing that has happened. So let's start off. What are the 3 reasons why Sunstein wants us to listen to the world news? Of course, we need to see what God is doing. That's number 1. Number 2, see what we need to report and pray about. And last but not least, what are the things we need to comfort God's heart in with the terrible things that are happening in this world too. So let's start off with Russia and Ukraine. Okay, so just recently, it was Ukraine's President Zelensky who spoke to the African Union. So Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky has called Africa a hostage of Russia's war during an address to the African Union on Monday. Russia's invasion and its blockade of Ukraine's grain exports have sparked grain and fertilizer shortages and put millions of people at risk of hunger. Now, the chair of the AU Commission said there was an urgent need for dialogue to restore global stability. Western countries have urged Russia to release Ukraine's vast grain stores. The blockade has sent food prices soaring. And he said his government was engaged in complex negotiations to unblock grain reserves trapped in Ukraine's Black Sea ports. Now, African countries, they've been divided in their response to Russia's war in Ukraine. So in March, 17 African countries abstained in a UN vote to condemn the invasion. Okay? But on Monday, the African Union's chairperson, Macky Sall, thanked Mr. Zelensky for addressing the union. And Mr. Sall did say that Africa remains committed to respecting the rules of international law, the peaceful resolution of conflicts, and freedom of trade. So initially, the AU did not want to be addressed by Zelensky, and it does not fully agree with what he's saying. They want dialogue to solve the crisis, as they always have. And earlier this month, Mr. Sall held talks with Russia President Putin, and he told Putin that African countries are innocent victims of the war in Ukraine and Russia and should help ease their suffering. So, yeah, there is like 2 parts to this, obviously, is the Western countries are telling Russia to release the grain while putting super heavy sanctions on them, right? So if you're on Russia's side, you'd be like, no, well, why don't you release the sanctions and then we'll release the grain if you really, really care for these African countries kind of thing, right? So it's kind of a twofold thing. Western countries don't really, they can't really say release the grain and then, we're going to still put the sanctions on you. So it is something that is it's a very complex negotiation, as Zelensky was saying. Also, here's a very interesting thing that we missed is China has switched to Russian oil. Russia has become China's biggest supplier of oil as Beijing takes advantage of discounted prices due to Western sanctions on Russian energy. So as the West seeks to end its reliance on Russian energy, Moscow has offered heavy discounts to alternative buyers. China's imports of Russian oil rose by 55% from a year earlier to a record level in May, displacing Saudi Arabia as China's biggest provider. And Chinese companies, including state refining giant Sinopec and state-run Zhenhua Oil, have increased their purchases of Russian crude in recent months after being offered heavy discounts as buyers in Europe, and the U.S. shunned Russian energy in line with sanctions over its war on Ukraine. Now, the imports into China which includes supplies pumped through the East Siberian Pacific Ocean pipeline, and shipments by sea totaled nearly 8.42 million tons just last month, according to data from the Chinese General Administration of Customs. So that is a big thing. They are now being funded again. It's a huge thing that China has now taken Russia as their biggest supplier. So that's kind of what's going on with the Russian-Ukraine crisis. Let's move over to other parts of the world. Let's go to Israel. Israel is heading to the polls again, right? They're holding their 5th general election in under 4 years after its fractured coalition government concluded it could not survive. So in a major political development, Prime Minister Naftali Bennett will switch places with alternate Prime Minister Yair Lapid under an existing deal. So an election could take place in late October, commentators say. The former prime minister and current opposition leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, has vowed to return to office. So Monday's announcement comes after weeks of speculation that the coalition, the most diverse in Israel's history, was on the brink of collapse. So it risked losing an important vote next week after a member of Mr. Bennett's own right-wing Yamina party quit the coalition, leaving it a minority in the 120-seat Knesset parliament. So Mr. Bennett said he had made the right decision in the interest of Israel's security, as dissolving the Knesset extended temporary laws, which were put in jeopardy by the vote. Now, the coalition had been teetering for weeks. Last week, Yamina MK Nur Orbach resigned from it, saying the government had failed in its main mission of lifting Israel's spirits, a move which left it with only 59 seats. Others had also threatened to rebel. The announcement on Monday night caught members of the government by surprise. The Times of Israel quoted sources as saying neither the defense nor interior ministers knew about the decision. So the bill to dissolve Parliament will go to a vote next week. And if it passes as expected, Mr. Bennett will make way for centrist Yair Lapid to become interim prime minister. So that is quite interesting that another election in Israel, 5 in 4 years, which is pretty incredible, right? Which means no one has ruled like on average for over a year. So that is a lot of chaos going on over there in Israel. And there was elections also that happened in France. And this is quite interesting too. There's political uncertainty as Emmanuel Macron, his party slumps. So France's centrist government is desperately trying to avoid political paralysis after it lost its majority in the National Assembly, right? So Prime Minister Elizabeth Borne has spoken of an unprecedented situation, and commentators have warned of France becoming ungovernable. So President Macron, his team now faces 2 powerful opposition groups, and it's Jean-Luc Mélenchon, Left Green Alliance, or Marine Le Pen's far right, And he's kind of, he's got to work with one of those two. And Mr. Macron will also have to replace 3 ministers who lost their seats in Sunday's vote, and the prime minister's future looks increasingly under threat. So the president's allies came out in force after Sunday's election setback, widely described by commentators as a slap in the face from voters, and the aim is to find a working majority, either coalition or by forging alliances with other MPs on a case-by-case basis. So minority governments are actually pretty rare in France. Right, there was even one in 1988 under President Francois Mitterrand, and he was only 11 seats short of an outright majority. The ruling Ensemble, which is Macron's party right now, is 44 seats shy of the working majority, so it will need to find support from mainstream MPs from both the left and the right. So we'll see what happens here. They lost a majority. They're gonna have to find a coalition, and I don't know. Could it be a healthy thing? I'm not sure if those of you who are in France right now, what do you guys think about the situation? Would love to hear comments about that too. Okay, so that is the top 3 news going on around the world. Let's get into some sporting news. NBA, we missed this last week because I was sick. Golden State Warriors win the NBA Finals in Game 6, 103-90 over the Boston Celtics. Steph Curry, 34.7 rebounds, 7 assists, and he gets his first Finals MVP. Also in NHL, the Stanley Cup Finals on right now. Game 3 happens tonight, but the first 2 games were in Colorado, and Tampa Bay, they got crushed in game 2. It was 7-0. So are we worried? Not really, because Tampa Bay also was in a similar situation last series, and they were down 2-0, and then they won the next 4 games. So let's see what happens tonight too, as Tampa Bay plays at home. Last but not least, we have in golf, the U.S. Open. And who won this? It was an Englishman, right? It was Matthew Fitzpatrick from England, wins with a -6, and he beats Scotty Scheffler and Will Zalatoris by 1 stroke. All right, so that is the top 3 news in sports and world news. Hope you guys really enjoyed that more than anything else, which means, what does that mean, guys? It means it's the golden time. All right, guys, so we're going to get into some praise and worship, and we're going to start off with Let's Rise Up, and then What Faith Has Given Me, and then we'll break things down with I Think Only of You, Lord. All right, so as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's spend this time giving praise, honor, and glory to the Holy Trinity.
Now is the time to rise up and shine. Pray without ceasing and seek the Lord with all your heart. The army of God must rise and stand up against the dark forces. Prepare yourselves completely and know that the battle has already begun. If you don't stand up and fight, then who will? God has called you to shine and make this history happen. Are you ready? Let's go!
by your side, holding your hand, drying your eyes. Trust in Lord every night and day, who never let you go, don't fall away. Be bold, be brave, and with all your might, love the Lord to the end of time. Shining
stronger and stronger now. The more and more I realize this history of God, I am more certain and certain now. I am more certain and certain now. My faith is stronger and stronger now. The more I testify of the perfect word of God, I am more certain and certain now. As I kept on climbing higher peaks, my faith grew firm and strong, unshakable. My God has proven all of this. The Holy Spirit witnesses. No matter who it is, they can't deny I've changed. My faith fills me with strength. My faith gives me power. The Trinity poured out their power on me. My faith fills me with love. They strengthen my love. The Trinity poured out their love on me. My unwavering faith in the Lord. I am more certain and certain now. My faith is stronger and stronger now. The more I testify for this history of God, I am more certain and certain now. As I kept on climbing higher peaks, my faith grew firm and strong, unshakable. My God has proven all of this. The Holy Spirit witnesses. No matter who it is, they can't deny I've changed. My faith fills me with strength. My faith gives me power. The Trinity poured out their power on me. My faith fills me with love. They strengthen my love. The Trinity poured out their love on me. My unwavering faith in the Lord. My unwavering faith in the Lord. My unwavering faith in the Lord. Now come what may, I'll never change. No matter what comes my way, whatever may happen, I'll never waver again. My faith will grow stronger each day. Now come what may, I'll never change. No matter what comes my way, whatever may happen, I'll never waver again. My faith will grow stronger each day. Now come what may, I'll never change. No matter what comes my way, whatever may happen, I'll never
If I live even one more day, I'll think only of you, only you, my Lord. Whether I can meet you or not, I think only of you. All day I'll think of you, just you, Lord. Wherever I am and wherever I go. Oh my Lord, if you are here by my side, just as long as you are here, truly I'd be satisfied and thankful every day. You are my joy, I will go on, my love on fire, delighting you, Lord. Lord, you said love isn't a theory, it's genuine and real. Lord, you said to love truly, you must love in reality. For my love, my true love, when will I see you again? I can't stop thinking of you all day long. Until by traveling on, if there's a small chance that we could meet, please come my way, Lord, come my way. If I live even one more day, I'll think only of you, only you, my Lord.
Ooh, and that was I Think Only of You, Lord. Before that, What Faith Has Given Me, and of course, Let's Rise Up. And yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed that time of praise and worship. I am very thankful, even more right now, because I'm holding up. I can't believe I'm holding up. My voice is holding up. Yeah, it was getting a little bit rough during the news, but yeah, I just realized that I got to take a break, take a sip of water before I move on and kind of like wet the palate again, or else my voice becomes kind of rough and stuff too, though. All right, there you go. So let's get into today's word study for today. We haven't done a word study, like a real full one, in a while, but it is Tuesday. So Tuesdays we do look into Bible scriptures or the books where it came from. And this week we have a bunch of different scriptures, and I want to go into the book of Ephesians. Okay, so for those of you guys who are not from the former faith, you guys have to realize how great the book of Ephesians is, and it's held in great reverence, not just by biblical scholars, but also like regular people look at this book as a very, very high-level book, right? And there's like theologians will say it's like the greatest piece of writing in all history, but interestingly, even like English poets will call it the divinest composition of man. right? So in order for us to really understand the full richness of this book, it's necessary for us to examine, not just, what it says, the content, but there's a literary text of the book, right? But also the historical, cultural context of the book as well. And we get to explore the audience and, of course, who the author of the book is. And then we get to go into the characteristics of the book and the full depth of how great the book of Ephesians really is. So when you go to the very first chapter, first verse, it talks, the book of Ephesians was written to God's holy people in Ephesus. So the city of Ephesus was a large commercial port city in Asia Minor, and today it would be Turkey. Right, and it's located at the mouth of the Cayster River. It's near the Aegean Sea. It's got a large population center on a major trade route and the capital of the Roman province of Asia. So Ephesus was considered the gateway to Asia. Now, on top of this, the city of Ephesus was known as a center of pagan worship as a temple of the Greek goddess Artemis, or the Roman goddess Diana, considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, was located just outside of the city limits. So as such, people from across the region traveled to Ephesus to visit the temple, and an industry of blacksmiths served them by creating trinkets and statues of the goddess. Now, additionally, Ephesus was home to a large community of Jews who had a synagogue in the city. Now, the author of the book of Ephesians was the Apostle Paul. Now, prior to writing his epistle to the Ephesians in 61 AD, Paul had an established ministry in Ephesus. Now, Paul first comes in contact with Ephesus when leaving Corinth to travel to Jerusalem in 53 AD. And you'll know that this is what it's stated in Acts chapter 18. So Paul stopped off in Ephesus, visited the synagogue in the city, left his acolytes Priscilla and Aquila there before traveling onwards towards Jerusalem. Now, on his return from Jerusalem, Paul travels to Ephesus and establishes there his longest ministry in any one location. So as Acts chapter 19 describes, one of Paul's first works was to re-baptize 12 disciples in the name of Jesus, who had been baptized by the Jewish Christian Apollos in the name of John. So Acts chapter 19 goes on to state that Paul spent 3 months in the synagogue arguing persuasively about the kingdom of God, but after being maligned by the Jews in the synagogue, then spent 2 years having discussions daily in the lecture hall of Tyrannus. And he had these discussions with both Jews and Gentiles. Now, during this time, God did extraordinary miracles through Paul, so that even handkerchiefs and aprons that had touched him were taken to the sick, and their illnesses were cured, and the evil spirits left them. So that is quite incredible right there. But if you think about what I just said, don't you think that's kind of incredible? Like, that's super, super incredible. That if handkerchiefs and aprons that just touched Paul were taken to the sick, and then they were cured, and also evil spirits left them. I don't know. That, for me, I'm just like, wow. Like, that has reached an incredible level, right, of power that God has graced Paul with. So his success and the demand for Paul's ministry, it was so big that what eventually happened was, the blacksmiths in Ephesus who made the idols for the goddess Artemis saw their business decline and their economic way of life was threatened. So there was this silversmith named Demetrius, and him and an angry crowd rioted and filled the theater in Ephesus that held like almost 25,000 people, and they were shouting, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians." And then soon after the riot, Paul left Ephesus in approximately around 56 AD to go to Macedonia. And then Paul never returned to Ephesus after that. Right? So that's how big of an impact Paul had in that city of Ephesus. So what makes the book of Ephesians so special in relation to the other books of the New Testament that Paul wrote? New Testament, there's like a bunch of scholars out there that say that the book of Ephesians offers more of a breathtaking view of the entire landscape, right? Or a very high level revelation or New Testament revelation. So if you examine the characteristics of the letter that Paul wrote, we gain insight into why it is held in very lofty regard. So first, the book of Ephesians is not a personal letter such as those written to Timothy, Titus, Philemon, nor does it speak of Paul's personal plans, right? It seems like it may have been written as a circular letter to the church in Ephesus to be distributed to several young churches in the Ephesus region. Now, the letter does not seek to correct errors as Paul's letters did to Corinth or to Galatia, nor is it a teaching letter. So the church in Ephesus was one of the most well-taught churches that ever existed, with Paul ministering there for nearly 3 years, and Timothy, Paul's close aide, ministering there after Paul left. Additionally, Paul wrote the book of Ephesians while imprisoned in Rome and unsure of what fate awaited him. So clearly, Paul wanted to drive home the point of his imprisonment as he starts Ephesians chapter 3 with, for this reason, I, Paul, the prisoner of Christ Jesus. And then Ephesians chapter 4, he writes, as a prisoner for the Lord. So Paul may have been physically imprisoned, but his mind and spirit, as portrayed in the letter, were clearly free. And lastly, the style of the writing is described more as the language of like a lyrical prayer. And basically, scholars will look at this book and say there is nothing like this in Paul's other letters. And I think that is one of the that would be an amazing goal to have for a church. Like if I was like, I thought to myself after reading this, like, wow, if Ephesus, their church, was so educated and well versed in the Bible, right, in the Word, that Paul never had to write to them about questions they couldn't answer or this problem here, that problem there. They were very, very well learned, right? And if you think about that, can you imagine if we had a church like that today, like Ephesus, that Sunstein could just speak freely? And there was nothing that he needed to teach above that because everyone has already reached that level, right? So when you take into account the audience, the author, the characteristics, the context of the book, we have a teacher in Paul getting ready to face his earthly demise. He's going to die, right? And these are potentially his final thoughts to his most prized students in the church of Ephesus. There are no more lessons to be taught, and it's the time for the students to reflect on the overarching purpose of the teaching, becoming a church created in Jesus Christ and in the glory of God, right? It's the final walk. And, excuse me, my voice is getting a little bit hoarse. I would say this would be something that we should even have a passion for as our own churches, to reach that type of level, right? That if it ever came down to it, like Sunstein in his final walk, that he could just give you the final, no more lessons to be learned. You've learned everything you needed. These are my final thoughts I want you to think and reflect on. So I thought to myself, it's like, this is a great book that we can read and kind of aspire to, looking at the church of Ephesus and saying, maybe we should become a church like this also. So what a great book. And I think it's something that we should all try to raise our level to get to that point. Okay. So as my voice is slowly starting to go, we have finished the word study for today. Hope you guys really enjoyed that, which leads us into the song of choice for today. And I haven't done this in a while. Guys. But listen carefully, because all of you have been rickrolled.
We're no strangers to love. You know the rules.
All right, guys, I got everyone. I'm just doing this to show you that even though I was sick, and I'm still a little bit sick right now, that I still have my sense of humor, and I just rickrolled everyone with Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up. And if you don't know what rickroll is, go ahead, Google it up. What does it mean to be rickrolled? It's a kind of a funny, like, pop culture thing, but hope you guys really enjoyed that more than anything else. I enjoyed it, just listening to this song. This is when I was in, not even high school, this is elementary school for me. I think I was like 12 years old when this was really, really popular. And all the girls loved Rick Astley. Even though he's this dorky redhead, everyone loved him because, of course, because he can sing and stuff like that, okay? So, let's get into the last section for today. And today's last section is the new segment we're doing on question and comment, right? And it's a very, very interesting one we did because the first one is about transparency. And I brought this up last Tuesday about what do you guys think about transparency when it comes to Sunseam's situation? We're supposed to pray for it, but we don't know what's going on. So it's hard for us to pray when we don't know what's going on. And then we ask people, they don't know what's going on. And we're kind of stuck where we're supposed to know how important something is or how dire the situation could be, but we have no idea, right? And the big question comes up is, should we be more transparent with this type of information, or is it okay to be hiding these types of things, or how much should we know? Because we do know that there's two sides. Like, there are going to be younger members that we need to protect them also, and we also have people that might get affected by it, right, or tested by it too. So there's just a lot of different reasonings out there. So let's take a look at some of the comments out there in the YouTube and YouTube, Patreon, and SoundCloud world. So here's one of the responses. Says, I would love to know what is going on. In my opinion, trust is built on transparency and truth. And of course, I do understand that for various reasons, things cannot be shared plainly, but at least some information would be really nice to have, and at least for me, important to know. Right, so there's one thought we have over there from YouTube. A second one we have also says, I personally always prefer knowing than not, but I do understand that leaders want to protect newcomers as well. However, since this is serious and it literally affects us all, I think it's best to know and be transparent. Yes, there is a risk for misunderstandings, but to avoid that, we have to be open with each other. Now, imagine if we could get hold of a different source and they would tell us what is going on instead. I'd rather be prepared so I know how to handle it and have time to pray and work through it in my mind. I also feel like right now I'm in the bliss of ignorance, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing. We all should archive a level of responsibility, and since we are in Providence, we should know what is happening. And on the other hand, I also want to trust that leaders and Sunseam know what they are doing, so I'll keep listening and praying. Eventually, everyone is going to know, which is true too. Eventually, we're all going to know. Also, we have another comment from Patreon. Says, as for the matter of persecution happening now, I think we don't need further detailed information, for we were told to entrust that matter to the people of National Defense Mission and focus on what we should do at each place. So, things that help me to understand that direction clearly. Number one, as a role model of a bride, Pastor Joan already has struggled and considered everything what people could think of. Number two, Sunseam was even embarrassed to have the persecution after resurrection time period, like the crumbling of Ambition Masterpiece at the 5th time, after he boasted that it wouldn't, but like God completed making the shape of the white throne on the earth through 6th attempt of building because of the corruption, because of the crumbling of the 5th time. Now, God said he would do everything according to his will in the end, which should be more than the best thing we could ever imagine. And then he said also, so the matter is how quickly we can set the condition for God to do his will. In the message given at the beginning time of prayer meetings told us that God has been concerned about brides who would be wandering around to be caught in the accident, and that's why he had no choice but to leave the scary people around, even though it would be refreshing if he could get rid of them. And therefore, I think what we need to focus the most is to make ourselves completely united, living together all the time at the level God dwells within us and us within him, right? So that we could do his will for the matter, which is greater than just solving the persecution problem, like fulfilling God's will, building the white throne on the earth rather than just a rock landscape. And the last point is, I think the fact that we were given at the beginning that Sunstein was accused for the same kind of crime from the same people, which he was already convicted once in court, shows enough that it's not an easy task to deal with from the physical point of view. We really need to pray for Sunstein and for the people who work for national defense, that they won't make mistakes to fulfill God's will or receiving wisdom of discernment. Right? Okay, cool. So that is one of the an opposite point from Patreon. And the last comment that I'm going to read today is this one is from SoundCloud. It says, as God reveals truth at our level, I think it is good if head leaders get to know the situation, and then department leaders do so, and then group leaders do so. They can talk about it in small groups, face-to-face, even online. And in case some people react in a negative way, we should do follow-up meetings or such. And it's better when we know what's going on and have concrete things in our mind to pray, I think. Right, so these are three of the many different comments that we're able to receive on this topic, which I think is a very, very good topic for all of us here too. Because, I don't know if it's just older members, but I also know that newcomers, just because they're new doesn't mean they're going to be tested. Newcomers are, I know some newcomers that are very, very mature, or they realize the word really deeply. And I've known the opposite of people who've been in Providence for a long time, who get tested by this too. So, after looking at all these different comments, I think one thought that came to mind is this: what if the world knows before we do? You know what I mean? Like, my example is, one time my parents confronted me a long time ago about the slander and such, which I had no clue about, right? I have no idea about the situation, but they confronted me. What if your family and friends find out before you do and they confront you with it and you have no idea? And then, us being honest, we're honest, like, oh, I didn't know. And they'll be like, that's weird. Why wouldn't you guys know? Are they hiding that from you too? Wow, they're hiding things from their own members. And it's really weird from their point of view that these things are happening and we have no idea. Which means they're going to look at us like, you guys are so blind, right? You're blind to your own church, what's going on in your own church, right? So I was thinking to myself, at a personal level, personally speaking, we have choices for everything in life. Let me get a drink of water. Like, we have choices for everything in life, and we have two ways to face it, right? Do we face it by either being tackling it head on, or do we take a more defensive stance, right? So defensive is someone asks us, we have no idea, and we have to defend ourselves. Or do we bring it up first and tackle it straight on before it gets worse? Right? So the question is now would depend on each person. How would you want to do it? Do you wait and then see what the world is going to say and then form a defense? Or do you tackle it head on? So, in the past, of course, we're told not to look at certain things, which does make sense if it's like really, really bad, like terrible, and people are like cussing and, like those things I would not recommend looking at, right? But there are some things that we eventually have to face. We do. We have to face it eventually, no matter what. As long as we tell people we're in Providence, we're going to have to face certain things no matter what level you are at in Providence. So, what's the best way? The way we do it now is no one knows anything, and then when someone gets into trouble, they send an expert, right? And then the expert gives all the answers. Or do you think it'd be better if we were educated first, and we got all the answers from the beginning. So if I were to give you a perspective from, like, let's say from public relations, like a PR perspective, I would definitely say that whenever you have something really bad, you don't hide it. You actually bring it out first, right? That's, any publicist or people who are working with actors, actresses, any really, really famous people, when it comes to the bad things, they address it right away, right? And that's why you'll see public apologies coming out really quickly, people talking about their point of view, their stance, and they'll apologize or they'll talk about it right away. And I do think when you also talk to public relations, when it comes to churches and people who are in different like organizations that have like really bad reputations, they will, like, public relations will deal with that first. It'll be open to the public. Everyone's gonna be like, hey, this is who we are. These are the things people are saying. This is what we say against that. And they tackle it right away. Now, for myself, one point I do want to make is no one deserves to know. Like, no one can say, I have to know. Like, why aren't you telling me I have to know, right? This is against the law of our relationship, whatever it is, like that, right? So for me is, I don't think anyone deserves to know. Like, no one has to get the information. They don't have to tell it to us. But it's a great opportunity. Like one person wrote that it is an opportunity to build trust in the relationship too, right? Because if we were to take it at the bride level, I don't think... when it comes to a bride and a bridegroom, I don't think the bride or the bridegroom will hide anything from each other, right? But they deal with it together, right? But I also, I do take that point from Patreon too, that there has to be that level of trust also, right? That sometimes we don't need to know everything in the beginning. Because, sometimes it could affect, let's just say, the lawsuit. It could affect the lawsuit if it comes out right away. Like, that's something that we have to take into consideration too, that it could affect the lawsuit. But ultimately, I do think general knowledge is good. It's a sign of trust, meaning we are old enough now, because if Providence is telling us that we're old enough now to start handling things on our own, I do think that if indeed we are old enough now, that we should be trusted with the right information. Ultimately, in the end, I would rather tackle things on our own terms. Like that, this is my personal feeling, is I don't want people to know from other people, from their perspective, from a very negative or from something that focuses on the things that are incorrect. I much prefer to handle everything in-house on our own terms, where we control the atmosphere, we control how things are said, and we can control the answers and such too, where we can continuously talk to them, right, in a good environment, more than something where it's like, oh, and this person said this, oh, did you hear about this, oh, did you hear about this? Because like I said, if you hear it from your parents, first, that's a tough thing. That really is a tough thing. And you know nothing about it. That actually makes it a little bit more scarier. So, in the end, I would think it's just my opinion from all the things that I've heard also here. I do agree with both sides. There's like merit to both sides. There is merit to both sides. Personally, maybe because I'm more Western, I guess. I would love to hear more about it, to think about it, to process it. And I know that my prayers would be much better. Like, can you imagine, I'll give you an example. If you just hear, everyone, we need to pray. Okay? So there's one, like, everyone, why aren't you praying kind of thing, right? And we have no idea what's going on. But would you be able to pray better if someone said, hey guys, it's really, really close right now, and they're going to be making a judgment on Wednesday? You'd be like, what? Yeah, it's now down to the judgment. I would have a much better time praying for this. Praying for the judge, praying for all the lawyers, praying for all the things that are going on. It would be so much more detailed for me. And the urgency would be in my heart. The ruling is on Wednesday. Oh my gosh, right? Or, something else comes up as like, oh, there's these 3 groups that came and, did this or whatever it was, I'd be like, what? And then I wanted to pray more. But maybe it's something, maybe it's me because I'm more physical. But for myself, I would feel much more urgency when I heard certain details. It doesn't have to be everything, but a little bit more detail or a little bit more information would be nice for myself. And like I said, I'm someone who likes to tackle it head on more than waiting for everyone to attack and then form a defense. All right. So that is the question and comment for this week. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. We will start a new session next week, next Tuesday, with a new question. So if you have any other questions or things that you want me to bring up for the next the question and comment, go ahead, put it in the comments. I would love to hear another new exciting topic that we can all think about too. Okay. So there it is, guys, with my hoarse voice. Yes, this is my COVID voice. Rah, 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 rah. Everyone have a wonderful, awesome day. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, I'm on the Morning Star Drive, I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm